I know. You guys are all mad because behind enemy lines is supposed to happen on Wednesday nights, but got to keep you on your toes around here. And if I want to get the best of the best content creators on from these other teams, then sometimes I got to acquiesce. And that's where we are at. I got my guy One Bar with me from the One Bar and Lupagus show. We got a ton to talk about with this game coming up. And not just that, I am curious about the Minnesota Vikings altogether. They are a very, very intriguing team to me for this upcoming offseason. So we got a ton to talk about, and we're going to do that next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's a special time slot for Behind Enemy Lines. One Bar, what is going on, my man?
Well, first off, I got to say that special time slot is 100% my fault. So you guys could just give me all of it. Bring it on, baby. We had Jesse on last night. Our show was fantastic. It was great. Happy to be here, man. I'm excited to talk some Vikings 49ers. You said the Vikings are an intriguing team.
Yes.
And we'll take that, because you could have said much meaner words. So I'll take intriguing any day. Let's go.
I've got friends that are Vikings fans, and I've got 49er friends that live in Minnesota. And man, I got nothing bad to say about that organization. I hear that the facilities there are beautiful. When they went and did the joint practices last year, I probably defend Kirk Cousins more than most Vikings fans do, I'm sure. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And so I have no ill will towards the Vikings. And I do think it's intriguing. And I think it's intriguing for multiple reasons, One Bar. But the first one is the Kirk Cousins situation. Now, Kirk Cousins, from what I understand, has this no trade clause. Sounds like he may not be willing to waive it. But for a guy that's 35 years old who's trying to win, if there's a team that's willing to take a shot on him that is a winning situation, I would be shocked that he wouldn't at least exercise or look into exercising that option. But that doesn't seem to be the case. What does seem to be the case, though, is he's not going to be back after this season. I would be shocked if he's a Minnesota Viking, at least from an outside perspective. So 2 questions for you around Kirk Cousins. 1, do you believe there's any chance he gets traded before this deadline? And 2, am I right in saying he will not be back as a Viking? Is that your feeling as well?
As far as him getting traded, I'll never say never. I would put it at like 97% chance. Hell no, he does not get traded. And that's going to be more on him. It's not like the Vikings wouldn't maybe want to move on from him, especially after this week. I mean, we're 2-4. We got you guys on Monday night. That is not going to help the record whatsoever. So I think it's all going to be Kirk. And when you look at it from Kirk's standpoint, he's in an offense where he's putting up crazy numbers, and he's going to continue to put up crazy numbers. Even if we do not win any more games, he's going to do it. He's leading the league, touchdowns, whatever, yards. He's ripping it up. He's got Justin Jefferson. I know Jefferson's on the shelf for the next at least 4 weeks, but he's in a real good spot. He's going to cake his numbers. And next year, he's still going to get some payday. Somebody's going to pay him. Somebody's going to bring him in. So why not pad the stats? He's a family man. He's not going to want to uproot his family. He's not going to want to leave the family and go somewhere. That said, if the perfect scenario were to come up where he actually would have a chance to get a ring, and the perfect scenario is like Tua goes down, the Dolphins come calling, somebody like that, that's the only chance I'd see. It'd have to be so damn perfect for him to go, but I don't see it happen. I don't see a way. But they asked him at a press conference about the no trade. Hey, would you be interested in waiving the no trade clause? Kirk Cousins doesn't get ornery. He got ornery at that, and he shut it down. He's like, no, basically, I'm a Viking, blah, blah, blah. So I don't see it happening. And your follow-up question, as far as him coming back next year, no, I mean, I'm a Kirk Cousins guy. He's done enough. He's done enough to win some games. This isn't because of him that we haven't, gone to the promised land, something the Vikings fans always dream of, getting that Super Bowl. It's not because of him, but the same point, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi, they're going to want to bring in a guy who is theirs. You got this sweet draft class coming up for quarterbacks. At this point, we're going to be picking very high. So it's just not going to happen. Again, I'll never say never. KOC does love him some Kirk Cousins. So you never know, but they would have done it. They would have had it done already.
So you say you're a Kirk Cousins guy. Niner Gang wants to know, do you believe in Kirk Cousins though? Like those is different. Like you can be a fan of one, but it's like, do you believe in him when the chips are stacked and you need to get it done? Do you believe in him?
Man, you got to ask me how many beers have I had when you ask me that question. I Kirk Cousins gets a bad rap. He gets the prime time Kirk. You know, he can't show up big time, and he does show up big time. Yeah, he's had his games where he's not showing up, and last year in the playoffs, throws a little dunk instead of going for it on fourth down. So he has his things. But do I believe in Kirk Cousins? I do believe in Kirk Cousins. I'm not all in on that. I'm not believing. I'm trying to convince myself right now. But like I say, he's not the issue for this Minnesota Vikings team. He hasn't been the issue. And if we got a big time game coming up and Kirk Cousins is our quarterback, I'm all for it. So yeah, I do believe in him. I'm drinking some Kool-Aid, this purple Kool-Aid this morning.
There you go. There you go. That'll get it. That'll get the heart rate going. It's funny. I was ironing a shirt and it was purple as I was ironing it. And I go, I can't wear a purple shirt with the Vikings guy. And then I was like, well, I could make a comment about like, maybe I'm like getting ready for the Vikings funeral, but I felt like that'd be over the top. So I decided to wear just regular Niner gear.
Vikings funeral. It's possible.
Anyways, man. But no, I agree with you. And I said this last night on your show, actually, that I actually have been a defender of Kirk Cousins for a long time. You know, people throw away the words. It's fan talk. I get it. But throw words around like trash and he's garbage. It's like, no, hold on. Trash is like, if I was going to say a player is trash, I would say that they're like not even fit for the league, or something like that. He is the gatekeeper for the top 10. He's the gatekeeper for the top 10. If you're better than Kirk, you're a top 10 quarterback. Like there is no question about it because he's right there year in and year out. You go look at the numbers he's put up. And I think 49er fans have kind of acquiesced to this, that if it was Kirk Cousins here instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers would have rings right now. They would have rings. Like when the original sin of quarterbacks for Kyle Shanahan is not the Trey Lance thing. It is not passing on Tom Brady when he had a chance. It is not, all the things that have led up to this situation where Brock Purdy is now in house. The original sin was not sticking to the plan of getting Kirk Cousins the first offseason. That is where you went awry. If you had done that, you probably would have a ring by now. So that I believe that.
Well, here's the big thing with Vikings fans and Kirk Cousins. Everybody is either completely all in on him or think he's the worst quarterback they ever seen. And we're going to get a real good reality check next year when we don't have Kirk Cousins and we're starting from scratch, because we've had the Christian Ponders, we've had the Matt Castles, we've had the Gus Farad. I mean, we've had all these guys, and now we got a guy that actually can perform. And next year, it's going to be, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to get a rookie quarterback, potentially a high pick. But it's also going to be a reality check. And all these guys will be like, oh, that's what it was like.
Well, and
it's gone.
What's funny is we heard a lot of these same things about Jimmy Garoppolo, which I don't know anybody's missing him now. But the difference is this: Kirk Cousins was a performer before he came to the Vikings. Like he's put a resume on paper that was like, yeah, I can throw for 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. I can do that. And then I came to the Vikings and continued to do that. And if he goes somewhere else, he'll probably do it again. Like he's in a different situation where Jimmy is like, he looked really good. There was a lot of hope there. He played well at times. He got injured. He goes to the Raiders and is immediately awful. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to happen to Kirk Cousins, I don't believe. And he's already proven it prior to coming to the Vikings. So interesting stuff. But since the Vikings seem to be in this mode where, maybe Penix might be your guys' next quarterback, we'll see. You a Penix guy or are you a Caleb Williams
guy? No, I like him.
Okay.
I like him. I like all the quarterbacks next year. That's why I'm getting kind of excited. I mean, I love Kirk Cousins. I want him to go to an awesome team. I want him to get himself a ring. But I'm also ready to go a little new age quarterback.
Well, I'm going to use a comment here to parlay into this next question, because it does seem like you guys might be having a little bit of a garage sale over there, and the 49ers might come calling. He says a third and a fifth for Danielle Hunter. Now, I did have Hunter as a topic, and this was the exact question. Not necessarily the 49ers, but there's been a lot of issues with Hunter and the Vikings. Like, I don't know how this thing is still going. It seemed like he wanted out 2 years ago. He then talked about it again, and then he wasn't playing and he was hurt. And there was so much drama, it seemed like, with the Danielle Hunter situation. Yet he's still a Viking. The trade deadline is coming up. I feel like he's the perfect candidate to be traded to get something in return. Do you agree with that? Do you think Hunter is on the table for, not necessarily the 49ers, but other teams?
Could you imagine Hunter on that Niners
Oh,
defense? I mean,
yes.
it's crazy. And the Niners are a team that we've talked about as far as if Hunter were to get traded, it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Takes that defense. But Danielle Hunter is fantastic. The dude is ripping it up again this year. He's having a blast in Brian Flores' defense. Last year, Ed Donatel had Danielle Hunter dropping back in coverage, doing just crazy things. And this year, they're just pointing to the quarterback and say, Hunter, go get him. So he's having a great year, and he's helping the Vikings case if they do actually want to move on and trade him, because there's a lot of teams that are going to want him. This is his last year with the Vikings. I was surprised that they actually got something done. Everybody was already writing off Hunter in this summer as far as they're going to trade him. He's not going to be here. And then all of a sudden they work it out and he comes back for another year. So at the trade deadline, Hunter's the guy. If the Vikings want to get any sort of compensation and have that garage sale, he is going to be the guy. It's going to be very interesting to see what that compensation actually is. I mean, it's basically you're getting a 1-year rental, right? I mean, unless he's going to a team and they fall in love with him and they work something out. So that's going to hurt. But Hunter is definitely on the table. October 31st, that's a trade deadline, right? I mean, we still got a couple weeks for that. Things would have to go real south. And when I say real south, lose to the Niners, lose to the Packers. That'll be the dagger right there. And then I say it's game on. And Vikings fans would be fine with it.
Yeah, so people are asking, can the 49ers afford him? What's the ramifications? It's about a 11.5 million in savings for the Vikings if they trade him for this year. And then they have about 9.5 million in dead cap. But because we're doing this after June 1st, that means they're basically taking on about 4.75 million in dead cap this year and next year. So it could work well for both teams. That's not a ton, especially if they are getting a decent draft pick in return. So there's certainly a path for this move to happen. There is. Now, the 49ers did just get Gregory. So, does that mean that they're out on a pass rusher? I don't know, but Danielle Hunter and Gregory are not in the same stratosphere. So let's be clear about that. Danielle Hunter is a bona fide top tier pass rusher, or second tier, I would say. The top tier guys are Bosa and some of those other guys, Watt, whatever. I think he's just below that. And then Gregory's a nice piece, but he's like tier 4 pass rusher. So we're talking about two different level players here. So if Danielle Hunter is available, I wouldn't be mad if the 49ers necessarily kicking the tires on that one. Keenan says, good morning and afternoon. Hyped for today's show. Well, good. You probably said that much earlier, and hopefully the hype is living up to the expectation there.
Well, one thing on Danielle Hunter, quick, is
right
now in this Vikings defense, he doesn't have a very great supporting cast. Imagine him like on the Niners with Bosa and those linebackers. I mean, the guys you have, it's like he doesn't even have to go there and get you a sack or 2 sacks a game. It would be crazy. I hate the thought of it. I mean, but again, it's such a perfect match for that Niners D.
Yeah, I want to say this. Think this, 49er fans. Rams getting Von Miller at the trade deadline. That's how big of an impact this would be. And we saw that impacted that team and helped them win a Super Bowl. I believe Hunter is that big of an impact for the 49ers. I mean, he is a very, very good player. Very good player. Let's talk Justin Jefferson. He what?
So we need a nice bidding war. We need the Niners to get into this. We need a couple more teams. Let's jack that price up, baby.
Well, I could see. Listen, there's some teams that I think certainly could jump in on that. In fact, I'm curious to know. He's not going to cost his new team a ton either. I would think every major contender should be in on Danielle Hunter if he becomes available. I could see teams AFC teams, NFC teams. Eagles have a sack line. I could see them being in on it. Dallas, I mean, God, could you imagine? Uh, Buffalo, Kansas City. I mean, all of the teams should be in. The Ravens, everybody should be in on Danielle Hunter. Heck, I look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks, where that's kind of what they're missing, is that pure pass rusher, that bona fide pass rusher. They go get him with that secondary. All of a sudden, their defense is on a whole different level. So, there's, I could see him going to a couple teams that aren't the Niners that would cause the 49ers a ton of problems. And that I don't want. So we'll see what happens with Danielle Hunter. Justin Jefferson, here's another one. He's not going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere at the trade deadline by any means, but there's definitely some contract disputes. Do you get the feeling that Jefferson doesn't want to be there? Is that what it is? Or is this really just a full money play? Like, what are your thoughts when it comes to Jefferson?
No, I think Jefferson is going to be here. I think he wants to be here. I mean, look at last week was a great example. He's on the IR, which sucks, but he's in Chicago. He goes to the game. He's out on the field. I mean, he's next to the coaches during the game. He's doing all the right things. Maybe that's part of his plan, but I think he does want to be here. We're going to give him the contract he wants. There's no way we're letting this guy go. No way in hell. So we're going to pay him the cash. The only thing is a little gray is the Kirk Cousins thing, because Kirk, again, Justin Jefferson is his man. He makes sure he gets that ball and he lights up those stat sheets. So if that's the only thing as far as the uncertainty when it comes to the quarterback position in the future. So Jefferson could pull that card and be like, I don't want to deal with a rookie quarterback, depending on the type of quarterback they get. That's the biggest issue, but he really hasn't shown anything as far as not wanting to be here. He hasn't pulled the diva card. He hasn't done anything like that where he's just kind of disappeared. So nobody's really getting that feeling. But we also had the Stephon Diggs. We had the Percy Harvin. We had the Moss. All these guys end up just randomly leaving us and breaking our hearts.
Yeah, now that you're like listing the names, like the 49ers have had the cream of the crop when it comes to wide receivers, but no slouches there in Minnesota. My gosh, I mean, those are some great names. And the way that the Vikings were able to parlay Diggs into Jefferson was so genius on their part. I mean, it was fantastic what they were able to do there. Can they do the same? Are they willing to do the same? I mean, I think Jefferson, being much younger than Diggs when Diggs got traded, and quite frankly, just better than Diggs was at that point as well. I think Jefferson it would take 2 first-round picks to get that deal done. Like, if they're otherwise, they'll just franchise tag him and do it a couple times. Like, there's no way they're just letting him walk. No way.
Things would have to get incredibly gross, incredibly bad, and Jefferson does not seem like the type of guy that's going to go that route. Again, he's still young. It's still early in his career. Things can get sour real quick. But they're not even picking up the phone unless it's multiple first-round picks and more on top of that. And he's got Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison has looked pretty good. He's got his Robin. He's the Batman. He's got his Robin. So a lot of things point in Justin Jefferson's favor as far as staying in Minnesota, including that big old check they're going to give him.
Yeah, most certainly. I didn't have this on the topics, but I do have to ask you, what is the Vikings fan like? What's the pulse from Vikings fans on O'Connell? Because he came in and did such a good job last year. Obviously, I'm it's not all on him that they're not winning. But the Vikings, the MO last year was winning these tight games. You guys were like 11-0 in 1-score games or something like that. This year, you started out the season exactly the same, except for you were on the losing end of all those games. Like all the awesome things that happened last year that went your way weren't going your way this year. And then that's how the 0-3 start happened with the Vikings. What's the pulse on O'Connell in Vikings land?
It's pretty mixed. I mean, my big argument is give me a break. You're complaining about a guy who's a rookie head coach that is coming off a 13-4 season. And we start off 2-4. And again, the season is gross. Vikings fans we're very depressed. It is not happy in Minnesota land right now, but it's mixed. I mean, he's made some stupid calls. He's a second-year head coach. It's expected. You got to have a little grace. You got to have a little leniency when it comes to this. And for me, being a Vikings fan for so long, it's just kind of expected. There's no worries there, but there's definitely with the Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell, they both came in at the same time, or GM and Kevin O'Connell. So they're linked, and they're gonna be linked. So if people don't like Kevin O'Connell, they're off on Kwesi already too. Oh, you drafted Lewis Seen. You gave up a 4th round pick for Jalen Rager. I mean, there's some moves that have definitely not panned out. But this year we're 2-4. Everything's pointing to just an absolutely gross crotch punch of a season. But they're all one score games again. Like you said it best. Last year we just had the magic juice. Everything went in our way, and this year it is just the opposite. But they're all 1-score games. We beat the Bears by 1 score, and then we only lose to the Chiefs by 1 score. We beat the Panthers, the crappy Panthers, by 1 score, and then we only lose to the Eagles by 1 score. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're always competitive. There is that for sure, and that's what makes it tough with a guy like Kirk Cousins. Here's why I would trade Kirk Cousins. Going back to that conversation, I would try to talk him into being willing to be traded. The team that I thought initially that made the most sense was the Jets. They actually have the cap room to get it done. I don't think it would take more than like a third to get that deal done, just because Kurt's going to walk anyways. And if Kirk says, "Hey, I've given everything I've got, like let me go," they would probably oblige him. I believe they would. But from the Vikings standpoint, Kirk Cousins makes them just good enough to be competitive, and those extra wins potentially that might come, especially if Jefferson comes back, might really make it hard to go get that quarterback this year. Like, that's the hard part. So it's not that I get it. You don't want to hear that you're tanking, but man, you really have got to make some business decisions because the future is on the line. If you don't go get one of those quarterbacks that you feel is like the guy, and I'm sure the scouts and GM and everybody have already looked at it and said, these are the 2 or 3 we are comfortable with. Anything outside of that, we are not. This is a no-go. I don't feel great about this. Man, you really got to be in position to go get one of those guys. And so that's really where it's at. Kirk is too good to just win one game this year. It's not going to happen. So that's the catch-22 that I see with the Vikings right now.
Well, and you're absolutely right. If Kirk came to them and wanted to get traded, I think they would do that for sure, and the compensation wouldn't be crazy. But it's going to have to get to the point where we're going to have to lose to you guys. We're going to have to lose to the Packers. I mean, we're going to have to be out. I mean, we're pretty much out, but we're going to have to be out. So if that came to it, and Vikings fans would be all for it, I would be fine with it, because Vikings have proven one thing is, even when they have a bad season, for some reason they find a way to get 7 or 8 wins and just completely screw us when it comes to the draft. And also we're picking 17. And it will happen this year.
Yeah.
We will not have a top 5 pick unless this Kirk Cousins trade, something like that, does go down, because we'll end up with 6 to 8 wins. It'll happen. I know it.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think you're absolutely, well, hopefully the 49ers can help that path for you guys and give you guys the loss that you need, and just help aid the situation.
We're not jumping ship yet, baby. No way. Hope. We got hope in Minnesota. Let's go.
We are hanging on. I know there's a lot. It's going to be, there should be a good amount of 49ers fans going. I know quite a few people that live in that area. I got some people in the chat saying that they're going. So have fun. I imagine that Vikings fans are very easy to get along with. You should have a good time. You're seeing all this crazy stuff happening around the league with these fights, and it's just disgusting stuff that you're watching. And I would expect that does not happen in Minnesota. I don't feel that vibe from them. I'll tell you this: when I went to Pittsburgh, those fans were so nice. They knew their team inside and out, but they were very respectful. We were respectful back. There was nothing. There was not any ill will in that stadium. And I believe this will be much of the same. So enjoy yourself if you are going to the game. I'm sure you're going to have a blast. Now, we talked about all the stars on the team. Most of the stars on the team, I should say. There are some good young players on this team as well. I mean, Addison, I think he's going to be a pretty damn good player. There are other players that you talked about that maybe haven't panned out, like Lewis Seen or whatever, but you guys, there's always a player or two on every team that fans are excited about watching grow or have already started to hit their stride that the rest of the league doesn't know about because they're not fans of that team. Every team has one of these guys. Who is that player for you or multiple players for you that the fan base is like, yeah, we got something here. Just give it a couple years. We got something.
Let's see. Let's go Ivan Pace. Ivan Pace, undrafted free agent that we got from Cincinnati, a guy that was really, when it came to the draft, was projecting anywhere from like round 4 to undrafted. I mean, he's short, he had the short arms, but he has been our starting inside linebacker, along with Jordan Hicks. And yeah, he's got some issues, but he is overperformed. It has been fantastic to see him out there. He has shown that he can get after that quarterback as well. So Ivan Pace, he's the Rudy story right now. We love it. We love everything about it. He is a guy to keep an eye on defense. Josh Metellus, who right now is pretty much our third safety, but he's out there a ton. Brian Flores is having a blast with him out there. We do a lot of 3 safeties out there. We re-signed him this year to I think it was a 2-year contract. So we got him locked down. Josh Metellus is a guy that will be in the backfield. He'll be making plays. He is a guy, if Harrison Smith does in fact retire this year, which will be horrifying, Metellus could be a guy that steps in for him. Defensively, our defense is, it's surprising to say, but we're actually better than we were last year. Our defense isn't one of our strong suits, but Brian Flores is just bringing it this year. And a Caleb Evans, our cornerback, a 4th round pick a couple of years ago, is starting to show a little bit of flashes as well. Mekhi Blackman, he's a guy that, not many people are talking about, even Vikings fans, which is usually a good thing when you're talking about a rookie corner that is getting a lot of action. So he is a guy that we're getting excited about. Offensively, I mean, you mentioned Addison. He's kind of a gimme. Ed Ingram, our starting right guard, who if you would have brought him up week 2 or even last year, Vikings fans would have said the worst possible words you could say about anybody. Because he was a liability, and he will look probably not overly fantastic on Monday night, but he's improving a lot. He is a great run blocker, and it's time for Vikings fans to start giving him some credit. So Ed Ingram is a guy to keep an eye on. Obviously, Darrisaw, dude's awesome. He's fantastic, but everybody knows about Darrisaw. So those are the young bucks I'm getting excited about.
I like it. One player that I didn't hear you mention, and maybe I glossed over it, but Cam Bynum.
Yeah.
Cam Bynum's kind of coming into his own a little bit, is he not?
Cam Bynum is showing up exactly. He's a 10th rated safety by PFF. The dude gets a ton of tackles. And, maybe you don't want your safety getting that many tackles a game. Maybe that's saying something about your guys up front. But he's showing up exactly when he needs to. Because I mentioned Harrison Smith probably his last year as the Viking. He's an old man. Cam Bynum is giving us a little bit of hope that where he's not going to be a Harrison Smith, but he's going to be good. And he's had a great year. It could be the Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus show for the Vikings at the safety position in the coming years.
Yeah. Well, and Cam Bynum, I mean, they're lining him up everywhere. I mean, he lines up in the slot and in the box half the time. So that's why he's got so many tackles. Obviously, I mean, it could go to the guys up front as well. Both things can be true, but definitely, I mean, he's getting a ton of tackles. He's turned into a bit of a ball hawk. And I remember him at Cal. I mean, he was a pretty good player, but I didn't necessarily expect this out of him. He's coming into his own. That's good to see.
And a lot of this goes to, I mean, Brian Flores, because Bynum has had a little bit of a rough go at it the first couple of years in the league, but this year it's just all clicking, and he's playing great. And you're right, they're playing him all over the place, and that goes for pretty much anybody on this defense. Flores gets pretty damn creative. He blitzes. I mean, I'm pretty sure we blitz the most in the league, and you're going to see all sorts of stuff come Monday.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun. It'll be very, very fun. We'll see who's in and who's out for the 49ers side. But see, this is why we do the shows. They didn't even know that Flores was the D coordinator over there. So there you go. That's why you are here, to learn a little something about the enemy. That's why we call it Behind Enemy Lines. Okay, one more question for you before we get into a score prediction. If one bar could be the GM of the Vikings and take any one player that he could get his hands on from the 49ers, who would it be and why?
Damn, that's a good one.
This was posed, by the way, from a follower on Twitter and supporter of the show. And this is a very, very good question. I like this question.
I mean, Bosa's the easy one for me, anyways. I mean, offensively, we're set at left tackle. Trent Williams is fantastic. Darrisaw to Williams isn't enough for me. I need more.
Yeah.
And offensively,
and the age too. You got to factor in age, right?
Yeah, and I'm not taking Brock Purdy. I mean, I know Cousins is going to be gone, so no offense, but I don't want Purdy. We're good. Tight end wise, Kittle again. Hawkinson can't catch a cold this year, but damn it, we're not giving up on him. So I'm not going Kittle. So I gotta go Bosa. We're gonna be losing Danielle Hunter. Bring in Bosa. Let's see what we got. I mean, yeah. And actually, it's pretty easy. I'm going Bosa.
it's pretty easy.
I want to get creative and give you something to shake it up, but
Fred Warner would be a good one. Fred Warner would be a good one, right? Our linebacker core is very good. You know, that would be a good one. It's tough though, like because with age, like that factors in. You know, if CMC was 23, you know, maybe you start to we'll take CMC over here, or you know, what have you. But it is hard with the age factor. If Trent Williams was 23, probably like, yeah, you know what? Well, Darrisaw could be a right tackle. We'll figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it definitely changes things. The Vikings, I think, are pretty easy as well. I mean, there's one guy, and there's only one right answer to this, and that's Jefferson. I mean, give me Jefferson. Absolutely. There's no question that that's the guy that I would take. And I just don't think anybody else fits that bill. You know, he's young, he's elite. He plays a position that, you know, the 49ers have Brandon Ayuk, who's a pretty damn good receiver. He would be the best number 2 in the league if you put somebody like Jefferson over there. Debo is a little bit of a hybrid. He's a running back / wide receiver. You know, he and McCaffrey can both do some of the same things, but to get a pure elite receiver like Jefferson and add him over here, I couldn't even imagine.
Well, as the Vikings GM, you do not get Justin Jefferson. Instead, we will give you Garrett Bradbury. You're welcome. Garrett Bradbury will be at your facilities come Monday morning.
Perfect. Sounds good. So I'm so excited about that one. Thanks. I appreciate it. Golly. Samir, that's right. Great question. I wonder who asked. Actually, shout out to Samir, by the way. I've got him putting together. You guys look out for this. I've come up with a new stat, and he's my guy that's pulling it all together for me. So be on the lookout for that. I think it's going to be a fun one for y'all. Hopefully we'll have it soon, but he's working hard behind the scenes. Samir, thank you for the question. And also thank you for working on that. All right, let's get to it, man. I think I know where you're leaning. And it's funny because for a couple weeks, I was getting a lot of comments. It's like, you know, these guys that you're bringing on are just the biggest homers. They always pick their team to win. And I started to go back over the weeks. I mean, really, I think I've only had 2 opposing content creators actually pick their team. And that was the Dallas Cowboys. And then the one I had twins on the first week, Steeler twins. One twin picked the 49ers, one twin picked the Steelers. That is it. Everybody else has picked the 49ers to win. Oddly enough, they have not been that homer. But one bar, I mean, you might be that homer. We'll see with your pick here. I got to know, what is the score prediction for this Monday night?
Steeler twins. I think I've actually done a collab with those guys. They were funny. They're younger, right?
Yeah, they're younger, very quirky. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. That's good stuff. I'm glad the Cowboys guy picked their team to win, and then you guys just wiped the floor with them. Boom.
Yeah.
Nothing better.
It was good.
You know, you guys got some injuries going on. It sounds like you came on yesterday. Sounds like 2 of the 3 are going to be playing, right?
I think so. If I have my guess, some people are iffy on Trent Williams still. I think Trent Williams and Debo are going to play, and CMC will sit. That's my gut feeling, but we'll see.
And let's be clear, that probably doesn't matter. But as Vikings fans at 2-4, as beaten dogs on the floor, we will take injuries, and we will not worry about that. We will take any advantage we can get. So if CMC ain't out there, fantastic. But as far as a score prediction, the Vikings' only shot at this is if it's low scoring, which is saying a lot when the 49ers score 30 plus pretty much every damn game, except for last week against that beautiful Browns defense. So our only hope is time of possession, something we haven't been able to do. Run the ball, something we haven't been able to do. Keep opposing teams under 20 points, something that we have not been able to do. So it has to be the perfect storm. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it has to not only be the perfect game, but the Niners have to have just a bad game. It's not even the fact if we bring our A game. I mean, we don't have Justin Jefferson, big old kick to the crotch. So it's everything has to go perfect for us, and you guys have to have a bad game. You have to have that hangover against the Browns where Brock Purdy needs to follow up another bad game. So my bold prediction yesterday on our show, bold being the key word, this isn't my prediction, is that the Vikings would actually show up on Monday night and put it all together and get a win, like something gross, 15-13, just something disgusting. That was my bold prediction. Coming back to life, if my house is on the line and I have to make a bet, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great for Minnesota Vikings fans. We're not going to get the ball going. We're not going to run the ball. Time of possession will continue to be an issue. When you look at this Niner team, it's so damn complete. It makes me sick. I'm trying to find some spot where the Vikings could take advantage. There isn't anything. The Niners are stacked. It's Monday night. And my biggest fear is that you're going to just murder us on Monday night. And then the whole Kirk Cousins doesn't show up on primetime. Vikings can't show up when it matters continues. So the other side of that is we will keep it close. That's what we do. It's going to be close. It's going to be a one-score game. It's going to suck for Vikings fans because we're probably going to end up losing. It's going to toy with our emotions. So if you're looking for a score prediction, I'm going to say the Vikings will lose like 24-16, something like that. Like they're going to play. They're going to show up. They know this is kind of their last hurrah, their only chance. And Brian Flores is going to bring something fancy. Hopefully it works. But, we'll see. But it's going to be a one-score game. That's my prediction. But we will lose.
All right. I can appreciate that. Samir says, after losing to the Browns, why wouldn't One Bar pick the Vikings if all the Northern stars align? Good comment. That's a great comment. But I am with, for fact's sake, which is after last week's game, not a chance. And I think that's actually what I said on your show yesterday, One Bar, which is if the 49ers hadn't lost last week, maybe, just maybe everything could work out in the favor of the Vikings. But now the 49ers have been woken up. They've been brought back down to earth a little bit. They know they can be beat. I don't see a path for Minnesota winning. That being said, I didn't see a path with a third string quarterback, no Chubb, their best offensive lineman out. I didn't see a path necessarily for the Browns, but the one difference is, well, a couple differences. One, elite defense over there. They also can run the ball, and weather did play a factor, at least for the first half of that game. Weather is not going to be an issue here. Vikings cannot run the ball, and the Vikings defense is improved, but not a great defense by any means. I just don't think with a week of preparation, knowing that CMC is likely going to be out versus losing him mid-game, those are two very, very different things. I don't see it happening. I think the 49ers get back on track. They do what they've been doing. They get up over 30 again, with or without CMC. They will win 31-13. That is my prediction.
This is very uplifting. I feel really good about myself and my team after that. You're spitting facts. There's no doubt about it. So I can't even argue anything you just said. And if realistically, the Niners should blow us out. Like when I say a one-score game, that's not me just going to fantasy land hoping. It's just what we do. But the Niners should beat us. I mean, this should be like Cowboy-esque score where you just blew them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I'm not saying that weather's an excuse, but it was a factor, right? Like there's a difference. And again, this dates back. I'm fair. I've been fair with the weather thing for different quarterbacks on this roster as well. So I'm not going to not give it Purdy's direction. But you're right. I mean, the offense wasn't great. Both teams had to play in it. Then they didn't have to score 30 last week. Like you don't have to score 30 every week to win. They just needed to get to 20 and they couldn't get there. So I get that. And I do think that they score over 30 and they do it without CMC. And, all is right in 49er land. We'll be just fine. It will be fine.
Speak for
One bar,
yourself.
one bar. I gotta say, thank you so much, not only for coming on here and making an odd time work, but also having me on yesterday for the rapid fire questions. I really, really enjoyed things that you have going on your show. They are, I mean, at this point, you guys are less than 100 away from hitting 10,000. Am I right on this?
Yeah, we need like 85.
Oh my
And
goodness.
if we get smoked by the Niners, we might just lose 1,000. You don't even know. We got a lot of guys that like to jump ship real easy. But yeah,
Okay.
we're about 90 away. So we're getting
So
close. I can't wait to see that 10K.
actually, here, you know what? Here, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do something a little bit different than what I would normally do. Give me a second here, because listen, I know how lazy y'all can be when it comes to doing things that we ask. Like if it's not right in front of you, then you just won't do it. So I can tell you, go check the link in the description and all the other things, but you won't. You won't do it. You won't check the link in the description and you won't go subscribe. So there it is. I'm gonna put it out there for y'all. Here, one more
All
time.
right.
I'm gonna put it out
Yeah.
there for y'all. Let me take that period away, otherwise the link won't work. There's the link to the channel. It's right there. Just click
Let's
on it and
go.
hit subscribe. Okay, come on, do it.
Appreciate
Do it
it,
for these
man.
guys. Get them over that 10K. These guys have been working their butts off, and I know that you want to go into the chat after the 49ers win and run your mouths. So there you go. They will take it. They are less than 100 away from 10,000 subs. And for a content creator, that is such a big milestone. Go give them some love. Go subscribe. Before we get out of here, we do have one more super chat. And this is a fantasy football question. He says, quick question for both of you. Flex Madison or Addison, standard scoring league. So no PPR. Are you a fantasy football guy, one bar?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No
What are you doing
PPR,
here?
though. That's rough.
I know that makes it way
That
harder.
makes
I
it
think
way worse.
PPR is easy, right? Addison, but now it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still taking Jordan Addison just for the chance of him getting a score. We don't run the ball. And even when we do, we don't do it good. I mean, and every Vikings fan hope this week is Cam Akers week. Give it to Cam Akers. Just we got to try something different. So Madison, we have not scored a rushing touchdown yet. We have not had a 20+ yard rushing play yet. So just take Addison, hope he gets a score.
All right. I'm going to go with the Vikings fan. He knows his team inside and out. And we got 4 people saying that they already subbed. So
Let's go. Let's go.
we're ranking it.
Yes,
We're getting
sir.
up there, man. We're going to help you get to 10K. We're going to do our part over here at Last Second Sports. You guys go sub to the channel. One bar. Thank you again for joining me, man. I appreciate you. Good luck on your journey to 10K. And I'm going to keep you in the Rolodex when the 49ers and Vikings play again in the future. You're my guy that I'm tapping into over there. All right.
I appreciate it, man. This has been fantastic. Appreciate the love and the subs. Worst case scenario is you can come watch us. We got goofy accents. We drink a bunch of beer, and we keep it real. So I appreciate the subs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Peace, y'all.